Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again. This is going to be a full video review on the Fossil Q Sport Smartwatch after 1 month of use. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to say off the bat is I'm not using the regular band that comes with the Fossil Q in the box. So if you would like to purchase any of these bands, I'll have a link in the description below. Just go check them out. They're awesome bands, and I bought a few of them just for this video. So the first one here that I'm using is this kind of mesh magnet band. So essentially it's just like a little magnet that connects to it, and I've been using this mostly out of these three, basically because I think it looks the best. I think it's minimal, it works really nicely, and I like the magnet just because it's actually very strong and I haven't had any issues with it falling off my wrist. And then I also bought a sport band here, which is kind of like the ones you get with the Apple Watches. It's just kind of like a knockoff brand, I guess, but it actually feels very premium. It feels very good. The silicone is also very good. It hasn't had any issues with like wearing, or feels like it's gonna be cracking or breaking anytime soon, and especially the hinges are also very easy to install. And then this is the regular band that came with it in the first place. I don't use this one mainly because I'm not a fan of the light blue color. It kind of makes it look more like a toy in my opinion, so that's why I don't use that one. But the actual materials are actually very good, very nice. So if you're looking at getting a different band when you're buying the Fossil watch here, I recommend going with Fossil's brands because they have a ton of different colors. So if the light blue isn't for you like it wasn't for me, there's bound to be a color that they have that will work for you. Now, first of all, let's go around the design of the overall watch here. And now, personally, I'm a huge fan of this design. I know I've heard a lot of people kind of griping against the design. I think it looks a little bit too childish, looks a little bit too plasticky. I can assure you that overall, I think the design was meant to keep it lightweight, in which it is. This is one of the lightest smartwatches I've ever used. I honestly forget it's on my wrist sometimes just because of how light it is, and I really prefer that, especially when working out or doing high intensity activities such as working. So I like having a very light smartwatch on my wrist, and I don't have to worry about a very premium, heavy set metallic device that I'm gonna, run into a wall with or something weird while doing an exercise. You don't have to worry about that at all with this device, which is super nice. And yes, it does have plasticky features, like on the sides, the white is all plastic, the back is plastic, but the front is actually anodized aluminum, and it actually feels very nice. It feels, and it looks honestly in person premium. It doesn't feel or look like a toy personally. I can understand other people's opinions, but for my personal use, it doesn't feel like it's a toy or it's gonna break easily in any way, shape, or form. I also am a fan of the 3-dial system. I know a few people have other opinions on that as well. I like the 3 dials, especially the middle dial here. With using its rotating bezel in order to go through menus super easily and fast, I do really enjoy that. So I applaud Fossil for adding that button in the middle with the rotating dial like on the Apple Watch. And I also do like these quick toggle other buttons. They're not just there for looks, they actually are physical buttons. So for instance, you can actually program them to open any apps that you prefer. So my bottom app actually goes right into my timer because I use my timer all the time. No pun intended there. But you can also obviously use your voice with Google Assistant to create a timer, but I just like jumping in here, setting a new timer for when I'm cooking or whatever I need it for. And then my top one here actually goes right into my Google Notes. Or my Google Keep notes, I should say. So as you can see, I got notes from my Pixel 3 review. And yeah, it's super nice having notes right on there. And the cool thing is, if you were in the Notes app here and you're looking at, let's say, a grocery list, you actually cover the screen here, it goes into dim mode, and it stays on. So you don't have to go through and reopen the app and look at your stuff if you have like a grocery list or something of that sort. I love this feature. So having the Google Notes, or Google Keep Notes, I should say, on here is a super awesome feature. And I really like that with any Google Wear watch. Alright, so moving on, let's look at this front beautiful display here. This is the 41mm option. There is a 43mm option as well on the market on Fossil's website. Now, the reason I went with the 41mm option is because actually the display is the exact same size on both watches. The only difference is the diameter of the actual bezel. So this version actually will have smaller bezels overall versus the 43mm version. So take that into consideration before purchasing the smartwatch. If you don't mind a smaller body like I don't, I personally would choose this one just because of the smaller bezels overall. This is an AMOLED display, so it looks beautiful both indoors and outdoors. Blacks are super deep and dark. All the other colors are super vibrant and pop out of the display. I mean, overall, I'm really liking this display. I think it looks very good. And I like that overall, all the menus have a very dark and black accents. So like swiping over and looking at your Google Fit is got a black background. Same with your Google Assistant on the left side here. So you got that black background with those super white poppy text. It looks very good. Same with swiping to notifications and swiping down for your quick toggles. So overall, I really love the OLED displays on any smartwatches. It also saves on battery life overall, and we'll get into battery life in a few minutes here. This also is one of the first smartwatches to run with the Snapdragon 3100 chip inside. So that's supposed to be cutting down on battery life as well as helping with overall performance. And overall performance is definitely good. It's not amazing. There's some instances where it's still a little bit laggy or looks a little bit choppy, but overall the animations are really good. And for the most part, this is by far the quickest Wear OS smartwatch I've used to date with that new chipset. So overall, very pleased with it. And when it comes to battery life, I definitely get a full day's use out of this smartwatch with relatively heavy usage. And what I mean by that is I use it a lot for working out, for fitness activities, as well as checking my notifications. I don't really reply to many people with this smartwatch or use Google Assistant all that often, but throughout the day, I'll use it at least once or twice for that reason. So overall, I'd say battery life is good, not great. I do wish it could last a few days on a single charge instead of just one 24-hour session, but for the most part, it'll last long enough for most people. And they do have some battery saver options right out of the gate here that we can turn on if you do want to last longer than 24 hours. Especially, I also have the always on display, so as you can see when it dims away, it'll still show the time and the date just in a more dim session without your background, so it saves on battery life. And with this option, it will obviously drain it a lot faster than if I didn't have the display on at all. But for the most part, I do get a full day's use, and I can't really complain too much about battery life. Other than that, I wish it did last more than one day on a single charge. Another thing to take in consideration is that when you get the 41mm option here, you do get 18mm bands, so they're a little bit skinnier than the other 22mm bands that you'll get with the 43mm option. So keep that in mind before purchasing any new bands with your watch before it arrives. So we've talked about performance, we've talked about battery life, day-to-day use, the overall feature set of the device here. Now, how about the fitness tracking, the heart rate sensor, and the pedometer, and the GPS? Like, how do they work? Are they really useful? Are they needed? Now, personally, from my experience, the heart rate sensor and the GPS are great. They work the way they're supposed to. They seem very accurate. They're not all over the place like I got with the Galaxy smartwatch. Because with the Galaxy Watch, I had a lot of issues with the heart rate sensor being very inconsistent. I would check my pulse literally 5 times in like a 2-minute section, and it would jump from 65 beats per minute all the way up to 120 beats per minute in a 1-minute section. So your heart rate does not change that frequently. So I knew it wasn't me, it was the watch itself. And especially with checking with this watch here, I would do the same kind of test. I checked my heart rate about 5 times in a row in like a 1 or 2-minute section, and it would give me relatively the same exact answer every time, maybe like 1 or 2 beats different, but not a huge deal. So definitely with the heart rate sensor, it's very, very accurate and it works most of the time. Haven't had really any issues with that whatsoever. Same with GPS. Again, it tracks you really well. Same with, I use it for Google Maps. I use it when I was running and when I was biking, essentially using it to get to my destination without having to pull my phone out of my pocket. And it works very well for GPS navigation and knowing exactly where you are and tracking you for your runs. So overall, GPS works very great, no issues there whatsoever. Now, when it comes to the pedometer, the step tracking has been really all over the place for me. Now, this could be an issue just with my model, so take this with a grain of salt, but for me personally, it's super oversensitive. I don't know why this is, and the funny thing is, from other reviews I've read online, they've said the exact opposite, that it was undersensitive. So again, this might be just my device, I have no idea. But when it comes to my step counter, as you can see right here, it says today I've taken about 546 steps. Now that's a little bit more accurate, but when I was looking at yesterday's tracking, I noticed that it said I took about 3,000 steps, and I can assure you I did not take 3,000 steps yesterday. I was at home the entire day. I edited 2 videos and I kind of just messed around at home. There's no way I took that many steps, and you can see this is my like weekly tracking here. Now, the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday makes sense that it's the most because those are the days that I work. And at my job, I usually walk anywhere from 1 mile to 2 miles of distance at my work. So this would make sense, but it's still way over the top. So for instance, one day I had class and I did not have work that night. I think it was a Wednesday, and it stated that I walked over 5,000 steps. And when I go to school and come home, I can assure you with my other, especially using my other fitness watches, they did not tell me I took 5,000 steps. It was roughly around 1,000 to 2,000 steps, which made more sense. But from what my personal experience, I'd say that the step counter is very oversensitive. And I did test this as well sitting at my desk. I just shook my hand back and forth like this a few times, and it actually did register about 30 steps just by doing that, and it made no sense. So I gotta say that the step counter, I wouldn't really take it very accurately, or at least for my model. Yours might be different. I really hope that is the case, but from my experience, the step counter is very inaccurate, and I would not recommend checking into that. Another key feature of the Fossil Sport is that it is swim-proof. It doesn't necessarily say on the website exactly how water resistant it is, but it states that you can take a shower with it, you can go swimming with it for a few laps, and it shouldn't hurt it at all. Now this does not have a built-in speaker, so you do not have to worry about water seeping into the speaker like you do on other smartwatches. So for instance, the Galaxy Watch had a feature called water lock, which essentially when you got out of the water, it would spray water out of the speaker, which is a cool feature, but not needed on this one. So again, you can go swimming with this. It shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. Just make sure that the watch band you are using is made of silicone and not metals, so you don't have to worry about rusting or ruining the metal over time. But it is awesome that more smartwatch manufacturers are making their watches swim-proof, which they definitely should be, especially when it comes to being out in the rain. It's just a big hassle having to take your watch off when you're out in the rain. I just love that it is essentially waterproof in this way, so you don't have to worry about taking it off when jumping in the pool. And like I stated, there is no built-in speaker, so obviously you cannot make phone calls with this watch, sadly, and it does not give you any audio feedback when it comes to notifications or using Google Assistant. However, Google Assistant still works just fine. I had no issues with it. It runs very quickly, and it registers your voice because there is still a built-in microphone, so you can ask it questions and that stuff, which it's awesome. Same with replying to text messages or emails. You can reply with your voice or using the onboard keyboard, which is a super awesome feature. So I applaud Fossil for at least including those features, especially Google Assistant. When I was using the Galaxy Watch, I really missed Google Assistant. Having to use Bixby was really just a pain in my neck. I love having Google Assistant on a smartwatch, and it works very fluid, and I haven't had really any issues to state when it comes to using Google Assistant or the microphone built into the watch. So my overall verdict of the smartwatch: should you buy it or should you stay away? Or is it worth it for fitness tracking, or if you should get it just for everyday use? Personally, I think this is a great smartwatch. I think it's a great fitness watch as well. Even though the pedometer is very inconsistent in my opinion, the rest of it is great. The GPS tracking and the heart rate sensors are great, and the Google Fit app works really well. And overall, the smartwatch is very fluid. The battery life is okay. It's not amazing, but it's definitely good enough, and it's not terrible. And with the help of Google Assistant and that new 3100 chipset, the performance is overall going to be well worth it when it comes to using this smartwatch. And again, I love the design overall. I think it's extremely lightweight. It's not going to get in your way. I like the different color options. This is the blue, but there's a ton of different colors you can choose from. And I like that the straps are actually extremely easy to replace and put on new ones. So customizing different straps is also a really cool feature of the smartwatch. And again, with that OLED display, super easy to see outdoors and indoors, gets very bright for when needed, and it saves on battery life being that it's OLED. So overall, I would highly recommend this smartwatch for anybody who's looking for a very nice, fluid experience using Google Assistant, as well as the new Wear OS and all of its easy to use features, and that it is a swim-proof Wear OS device, where that's really not a very common feature as of right now. So if you do want to get a smartwatch that will track your laps while swimming in the pool, this is definitely one that I would go for. So thank you guys so much for watching my full video review on the Fossil Q Sport Smartwatch. If you liked the video, please would like to show your support, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.